So today I'm going to be talking about how to do personalization without actually doing personalization. It seems like a really hot topic at the moment. Hands up if one of your clients has asked you about personalization. Yeah, enthusiastic waving at the back. So you know, I think it's important to kind of understand what we're talking about when we talk about personalization. The vast majority of personalization online is basically taking your data, usually data that you've handed over knowingly. So that could be your email address, it could be a username, it could be by giving something access to your Facebook account. A website then taking that data and kind of matching it with their own data, running your information through their database and seeing what matches, and then out the other end comes a personalized experience. So that can come in lots of different forms. The way you see The Guardian is probably different to the way I see The Guardian, because I've personalised my homepage to take out sports because I don't care about sports. So it's not on the homepage, but I'm sure lots of you do, and you probably see that. So that's an example of a you know, on the face of it, quite basic, but quite meaningful personalised experience. You could also take that one level deeper and think about like your online banking as a personalised experience, because you're logging in and it's giving you your information. So here's what my Coinbase account looks like at the moment. You can see that sad graph of all my pretend money disappearing over the last month. This is personalized to me because it's my data. So, you know, when we talk about personalization, it's usually done as a marketing thing, but actually this is personalized as well. Personalization is usually a logged in experience because you're handing over data and then those companies are matching it with their own data to show you what you want to see. But increasingly, as we know, there are lots of services out there online that are slurping up lots of data about users and tracking you around the web in a you know, a GDPR compliant anonymized way, putting you into different buckets of users doing different behaviors. These are just I believe these are the 4 most commonly encountered third-party cookies online. So you know, there's more and more data being collected out there, and it's letting people do some interesting things. Just to give you an idea of the scale of this, our good friends at the Daily Mail, never want to miss an opportunity to make their website worse, have over 19,000 third-party tracking cookies on their website, according to a study by Digiday. So you know, they're tracking 19,000 different bits of personalised data, which is fairly ludicrous if you think about it. You can kind of get an idea of the kind of information that's being slept up if you visit the Audiences tab in Google Analytics. There's lots of interesting data in there. So you can see in this instance, this website has 22,000 users who are TV lovers, and also 22,000 visitors that are value shoppers. So you know, these are anonymized buckets of users, but we know what their behavior is like online because these services are tracking them and grouping them up for us. So what this is allowing people to do is use services like these, Optimize the X, Dynamic Yield, Rich Relevance, Episerver, to actually make personalization a logged out experience. So when you arrive at a website, it's looking at your cookies and going, you're in the value shoppers group. So maybe showing you some products that have slightly lower prices. So personalization is moving from being something that you only get when you log in to something that you see by default, having not knowingly handed any information over to a website. And this is the personalization that we're often getting asked about. How do I make my website more relevant to people? How can I serve different messages to different groups of users? These are the types of platforms that we can use to do that. However, these platforms are expensive. They can be quite difficult to implement. And they often need a quite sophisticated level of expertise to get the best out of them. So where you have your kind of one-to-many or no personalization versus your one-to-one logged in, here's my specific information, you have increasing complexity as you come this way. I could make a WordPress website probably in about 10 minutes that was at that end of the scale. I definitely couldn't make a website that was at this end of the scale. On the one-to-many scale of personalization or no personalization, if you're not using one of these personalization platforms, you know, your website copy is probably going to be at that end. You only have one homepage. You can't personalize that for anybody. What I'm going to talk about today is how we can maybe bring things a little bit this way. And as you can probably guess, because I'm the head of content, the way we do that is with editorial. You know, you may only have one homepage where you have to write one piece of copy that targets everybody. With editorial, you can publish as much stuff as you like, and you can make that as personalized as you like. So what we have kind of come to call this level of personalization is one-to-some. So we're not targeting people on a one-to-one basis, but we are targeting groups of people based on what we know about them, and based on what we know their struggles are, what they want to read, all that sort of stuff. And this basically boils down to one specific thing that you need to get right, and that is knowing your audience. You have to do a lot of research, you have to know what your audience's pain points are, you have to know what makes them get up in the morning in order to correctly personalize your editorial content to them. And this isn't actually as difficult as you might think, because there are loads of great, absolutely fantastic data sources out there that we can lean on when we're trying to learn about our audiences. I was just talking about Ofcom earlier. They published these fantastic studies about media consumption and what social networks people use that is absolutely incredibly valuable. Think with Google, obviously Google want us to use their services more often and throw more money at them. So they're providing us loads and loads of market research data that we can use to do this kind of thing. And obviously ONS publish data sets on just about anything you could imagine. A little tip on this point when you're trying to find your data sources, when you're searching for whatever it is you might want to search about, if you append that with a file type XLS modifier at the end there, so that's telling Google only search for spreadsheets, what that will help you surface is the original research that sits behind the press releases and the articles and the annoying PDFs that you might otherwise find. So just to give you an example of how this works in the wild, some work we've actually done for a client. This is an article that we have published for one family. It obviously continues down this way. So how did we come to this article? We knew that their audience was over 50s. So we slurped up as much knowledge as we could about this over 50s audience. What are the issues facing them? What are the questions that they're asking? This was done through all of those tools I previously mentioned and a whole bunch more as well, including the keyword research that the technical SEO team did. One of the issues that we picked up for the over 50s audiences, for those with children between 18 and 24, 50% of those children live at home. So this audience of over 50s, for 50% of them, this article is personalized because their children live at home and they're probably wondering, should they charge them rent? And because we looked in Keyword Planner and all those sorts of tools and got an idea of search volume, we knew that actually a large proportion of them were asking this question. So we said, yeah, we definitely need to produce some editorial about that. And I'm really happy to say actually that again, due to some really excellent guidance from the technical SEO team, we keep talking about voice search. This is actually one of the best kind of results we've had for voice search. So I'll give you a quick demo here. Okay, Google, should you charge your kids rent?
According to one family, how much rent to charge your child?
Yada yada. It goes on. So tick technical box. That's great. But it was the insights that drove that led us to that result. What we also did, which was a lot of fun, was that we promoted this article on Facebook to a specific audience of over 50s who had children. So 50% of that audience are going to have those children living at home. And it had kind of predictable results. It got a lot of engagement. I'm a particular fan of Nikki Kendall there, because you don't want your kids to be an entitled arse. So, the interesting thing that we took away from this was that all of the people responding to this were mums. There were no dads were involved in this conversation. So if we were to redo this again or do something similar, we might, narrow that targeting down to just women. So, what I'm saying is, when it comes to personalization, I would encourage you to not be an entitled arse. You don't need to go right off the deep end and buy all of these really expensive personalization platforms. You can, and if you're ready for it, you absolutely should. But there are ways to get in the middle to this one-to-some personalization without investing any money, without much technical expertise, and without needing the data analysis skills to get there. Thank you.